40M, am thinking about moving out after stressful vacation with wife, 41F, and her family. Originally posted in advice, but I realize this is probably a more appropriate subreddit. Too long did not read. Just got back from a very stressful vacation with my wife and her family. I'm processing it and thinking about next steps and possibly moving out. Longer version. Our son is college-aged, and he backed out of this trip at the last second. I should have done the same. He sent on vacation with them last year, and had a bad time. But my wife played up the fact that she gets so few vacation days and she wanted to spend quality time with me alone. So I went. Long drive, we get there. It's already a bit tense because it's a very, very full house. My wife has a lot of sisters and brothers and their significant others. I like my wife's family, her brothers are funny and smart and nice. Her sisters are all very smart and nice individually, though together it becomes something else. My wife is especially close with her older sister who lives a block away from us, and has a baby with her husband, wife's brother-in-law. I used to like the sister a lot. Over the past few years she's meddled more, and been more of a negative influence. My wife of course doesn't see it, but even my son has noted that the sister been pretty meddling, negative toward me. But I think the sister is taking cues from my wife in respect to disapproval concerning my career choices and salary, etc. When we get there, I ask if there is a quiet corner to use, as I have to teach online. This is immediately met with some consternation, especially from my wife's very corporate HR brother-in-law, the new father, who rolls his eyes. My wife makes a beeline to her sister and her baby. She spends the entire day with her sister, brother-in-law and baby. The baby is very cute, and my wife loves being an aunt. I had to teach and do grading, which I was able to do in the basement without bothering anyone, so I made use of my time. At night I hung out with the brothers and their GFs, which was fun. I like hanging out with the brothers, they are good guys. My wife eventually comes to bed at 3 a.m. and passes out. The rental is a beautiful house with stunning views. But it's remote, and the town or beach isn't walkable. To add to that, my wife's brother-in-law keeps parking his way too big SUV in the bottom of the driveway in such a way that no one can get out without him first making a big deal of having to move it, and every time he moves it, he parks it right back in the same position. When I first met him, I liked the bill. The brother-in-law comes across as a nice, good-looking well-dressed guy. I think, from a well-to-do family, and I'm sure makes a very good wage, corporate HR. He makes a good impression and I liked him when I initially met him, though efforts to try to get to know him have stalled, and this week he came across as kind of self-absorbed and shallow. He's uninterested in having any conversations with me or the brothers. I tried to make conversation with him a few times, but he seemed uninterested. He'd respond with a one-word mumble and then go back to preening in the middle of the room. As new parents, which comes with the territory, they are the center of the world, and some slack should be given. It just seemed excessive. They seemed to go out of his way to take up space. If you want to pour coffee you'll have to maneuver around his multi-step protein shake making process, etc. Then again, maybe I'm reading too much into it. I just found them very cold and condescending to me. Edit. Deleted some extraneous sentences. The days went on like that. At no point did I spend any time with my wife, not even at dinner, where she sat next to the baby, the brother-in-law and sister of course. And again, the baby is really cute. I get it. I suggested a few activities, kayaking, walks, which she ignored. Fine, it's her vacation. I felt duped for coming, but I want her to have a good time. It's awesome that she is so close to her sister and her brother-in-law and their baby, and I had grading to do so I keep myself busy. That night, my wife's brothers and I were watching TV in the basement while my wife and the sisters and brother-in-law were all upstairs. I get talking to one of the brothers' GFs who is very astute. And she picks up on the tension. This is her first time meeting everyone, and she artfully points out, I can't remember her exact phrasing, that the sisters and brother-in-law come across cold and self-absorbed. I mentioned that new parents are often in their own world, for obvious reasons. The baby has to be the center of that universe. But she's like, sure, she mentions she has a lot of brothers and sisters too, but they almost go out of their way to be closed off and cliquish, and was worried they didn't like her. I assured her that wasn't the case, that's just how they are and they're all circling the wagons around the sister's baby, so to speak. We continue to talk, and somehow the topic of my wife calling the shots comes up, kind of an ongoing joke. The brothers like to tease me. I've been in the family for 20 plus years and I really like the brothers. I joke that I suffer from a lot of analysis paralysis, so my wife making the decisions for us, like where we live, how we spend our time, what we eat, etc., is really helpful for me. The girlfriend jokes, yeah, she definitely has a tyrannical streak. The brothers laugh. I was kind of struck by this, because it's kind of true. Wife eventually comes to bed after I've fallen asleep several hours later. Last day. The next morning the brothers leave right after breakfast. My wife and I had agreed to leave on Friday, as I had to get back. I start packing up, and my wife freaks out. She's decided we should stay another day. I explain I can't, but I can leave later in the day as I told her parents I would go for a bike ride with them. She gets really angry and calls me selfish, and tells me she has so few vacation days and she should get to say when we go back. To that I say she can take the car if she'll drive me to a train station later, or she can go home with her parents or sister, brother-in-law. They're all going to the same place. She tries to keep the argument going but I walk away and ignore. This pisses her off. She starts following me around the house yelling at me, calling me selfish, telling me it's her vacation and she makes more money than I do, and that she'll never have sex with me again. At this point, I feel like I'm starting to have a panic attack. I wanted to leave on the spot. Her sister and brother-in-law then comfort and console her, and offer to take her back Sunday. As I mentioned, they live in our same neighborhood. So at that point, the yelling is over and she goes back to ignoring me and hanging out with them. But I'm still very anxious and feel kind of humiliated. Then the brother-in-law drove her to the beach in the SUV. I calmed down, and as promised I go on a really nice bike ride with her parents, which actually was great and calmed me down a great deal. I get back and say my goodbyes. The parents hug me goodbye. My wife and her sister and brother-in-law are doing their own thing and ignore me. So I just left. I got stuck in a ton of traffic on the way back and had a lot of time to think. I ruminated over the argument, which is very one-sided, basically me just getting yelled at in front of everyone. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to feel bad for being a teacher. Our son is in college. I don't need this. As I thought about it I got anxious all over again. It was a miserable drive. This felt like a tipping point to me. No marriage is perfect, and we've had our issues in the past, including issues caused by her sister meddling. But this trip kind of solidified we're headed toward different futures. I don't want to be treated like a chauffeur or a doormat. I went on this trip, even though it didn't fit in my work schedule, because she implored me to go and claimed she wanted to spend some quality time together. I now realize I was just a convenient driver, and when I tried to stick to my own schedule, the hammer came down. I love my wife, and I am still in love with her. I have zero interest in dating anyone else, or even getting divorced. But I don't like who she is around these people, and I don't want to orient my life around them. I would never tell her not to spend time with her sister or Bill, and it's awesome she loves being an aunt. I'm considering moving out. Of course, money is a factor and I can't afford much right now. I'm researching rooms to rent in shared apartments about an hour away, which would be about what I could afford while also paying my half of our current place. I'm also considering filing a separation agreement. I don't want to get divorced, but I think some space would be healthy. AIO, thank you for all the helpful comments. Quick update. I wanted to write a quick update and respond to some of the frequent comments I'm seeing. First, thank you for all the comments, though some are difficult for me to read. A lot of you are telling me to lawyer up immediately, and pointing out my marriage is already over. That may be true, but I'm not ready for that reality just yet. I need to have the talk with her, and see if counseling is an option. I also feel like I have a lot to process. I need some space, and some therapy, for sure. But I'm not ready to go full divorce. Still, I appreciate the comments and advice and stories from those of you who have made it to the other side intact. I also don't have any interest in soaking her financially. I don't care that she has more money than me. If anything, good, let's just make this easy and clean. I've seen so many divorces where people are just out to punish each other. I don't want that, unless she's having an affair, in which case I will lawyer up. As for the, just leave. I get it, I do. But I don't want my son's last week at home before school to be a big fight, and I don't have a place to go to, other than a friend for a night or two. It will take me a little while to find a room to rent within my budget while still paying my half of the rent. I also love my cat. Someone asked if she texted or called to see if I got home safe. She did not. Neither did her sisters. But her brothers and brother-in-law did. Points for them. I think the echo chamber between her and her sister, and I guess the bill, of what a huge loser I am is probably deafening right now, so I don't expect a call or a text from her. This came up a lot in the comments, but I don't think she is having an affair with the bill. She is very, very close with her sister and I don't think she would do that. As some have pointed out, I think she probably does want someone more like the bill, however. It's a hard pill to swallow because my values are completely different. But I think she would prefer any corporate suit over a teacher. Her family has a very different ethic and view on work and money than mine. I didn't quite realize that until the last few years, but I think they view teaching as underemployment, and the man's role is making as much money as possible. In that regard, I have failed as a husband. She's brought up the money thing, that she makes more than me, a lot over the last few years. I guess I'm an idiot because I didn't quite realize how deep that ran. Related to this, a few pointed out that once we separate, her sister is going to set her up with someone like the Bill. Or maybe that's already happened. That hurts to read, but if that's what she wants, there's nothing I can do about that but move forward with my own life. Some people have asked if she had mental illness episodes in the past. Yes, she has, but that was years ago. She did a lot of work in DBT, and got to a much better place and is obviously successful professionally, much more so than I am. It stings, but as many of you have pointed out, she doesn't respect me. If she was just pissed at me, or wanted different things in life, I think that can be navigated. I do think she loves me, or at least has love for me. But she doesn't respect me, and that fucking sucks. She lied and manipulated me to drive her 5 hours, but didn't want anything to do with me once we arrived. It's one thing to get rejected, it's another thing to get used. As many of you suspect, this wasn't the first time she's manipulated me like that. But this one is a fresh wound. I spoke a little bit with my son, without getting too much into the details. He knew something was going to happen, he knew it was a bad idea to go. I told him he has better common sense than I do, and better intuition. I hope he always listens to that intuition. One thing he mentioned is that she always behaves very differently around her family, and in the past she has often been picked on by her siblings and parents. I guess by dunking on and humiliating me, she comes out on top this time. Anyway, I'm still pretty upset and anxious, my mouth is dry, and I still haven't been able to sleep. I think my body knows something I'm not quite ready to admit yet. Here's my current agenda. I am going to finish grading. I am going to find a therapist, I know I need therapy. I will talk to her later this week, after my son goes back to school. I don't know if counseling will happen, I don't know if she wants a romantic partnership any longer. I suspect she does not. And I need to find a cheap room for the semester. I can't really think straight right now. One red line I have, I need distance from that family, particularly her sister and Bill. I think whatever is going on, it's become an echo chamber that I'm somehow a drain or holding her back, or she can do better. I need to create some kind of moat for myself. I live in hope. Maybe the marriage is not salvageable, but I'm open to being friends. We had and raised an awesome son together, and we still need to work together to get him through college. I have a friend who went through a pretty bad divorce, but years out, after a lot of therapy, he was able to get to a spot where he only has gratitude for the relationship they had and the life they brought into the world. I'm not anywhere close to that enlightened right now. Right now I am feeling hurt and upset and angry at her and her family. But I think I can get there eventually, or at least, I know I can get past this. I am going to crash at a friend's place tonight and tomorrow. I will update again after we talk in a few days. Thanks, everyone. You've been together for 20 years. So I am assuming you have taken at least more than one vacation with her family. Is this the first vacation she has behaved like this? Or every vacation has been like this? If this is the first, I would definitely ask you to talk to her before moving out. However, if this is an ongoing pattern, then yes, you are correct. Also, does she always behave like this? It's absolutely disrespectful of her to yell at you in front of others. She should have kept your conversation private. It sounds like she doesn't respect you, period. It shouldn't matter who makes the most money in the relationship. Do you have a friend or family member that you could stay with for a week or two? Don't move out completely yet. This will give you more time to think. If she comes home to an empty house, maybe she will realize how she is taking you for granted. Let her know that some changes need to happen. You are considering getting your own place but want to see if she is willing to work on things. Your son was the smart one declining to go on this vacation. Don't know if you two will stay together or not, but if you do, I would take a permanent vacation away from her family. She can go by herself as essentially she ignored you other than to berate you. I would formulate an escape plan for myself, i.e. what happens if we separate, divorce. Will the house be sold and proceeds split? Would I then use those proceeds toward buying something or would I rent? What is my retirement income going to look like? If she makes more money than you do, why are you paying for half of your current place? If you stay together, I would negotiate that price down to proportionate shares based on income. Yay, I'd leave this marriage if I were you. I'm sorry for you this happened. Reading between the lines, are you having challenges in your own confidence and self-worth? Perhaps therapy for yourself to unpack that and then figure out your marriage? If your day-to-day life isn't harmful or stressful, you have time to work on yourself and then your marriage. So you spent 20 years being mistreated by your spouse, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back? That's what I'm getting from this post. It's okay to choose your self-respect if this is his interactions with your spouse usually go. I wouldn't stay either. I'm not sure why you're thinking of moving out while still paying on the place you're in now. Move to your son's room and either go to counseling or see a lawyer. You say you can't make decisions. Running away sounds like just another pushed-off decision. My 25 female, boyfriend, 30 male, got really weird towards me. Can I have an unbiased answer? So we've been together for 7 months and it was amazing, like no complaints. But today he asked to be intimate and I said I can't because I'm on my period, and he asked for a BJ and I said later since I was having some horrible cramping. He gave me a massage and was sweet and normal. He asked again later on and I asked if we could do it a bit later since I still didn't feel good. Then he asked and I asked if we could just do it tomorrow since it was pretty late and I wasn't feeling my best and just wanted to cuddle. I feel a bit nauseous when I'm on my cycle sometimes. He tried to convince me and I said I wasn't feeling it, and he said I kept lying to him all day and I was teasing him on purpose. And I said, how was I teasing you? I was in your bed slumped over in pain the whole day, and he said I was making false promises and now I'm saying no after I said I would. I was instantly taken aback and I was just like, what the hell, and he said I was being dishonest and he was upset with me. That was like the first time I said no to him and his reaction just weirded me out. Afterwards it felt like he was ignoring me, and so I asked him if I should just go home since the vibes were weird, and he said I can leave if I want. I thought he was gonna tell me to stay and I was like, well, you're not talking to me, and I tried to say sorry so that he'd go back to normal, but he just kept ignoring me. So I just left and came back home. We were supposed to spend the weekend together. Honestly, I've been crying and keep replaying the whole thing in my mind even though I didn't exactly do anything wrong. I almost never say this, believe it or not, but that's breakup worthy. Do you really want to be with someone who has so little empathy? Someone who pouts when you won't give him what he wants. Someone who only wanted to spend time with you if he got some. His attitude is disgusting. Even if you did promise you are 100% entitled to change your mind at any time about intimate. But he is absolutely gross for watching you be in pain all day and then trying to guilt you into having sex. He showed you his need for sex was more important than your health and comfort. He didn't give you the massage out of kindness, he did it hoping it would lead to sex. Then when you deny him what he thought he was entitled to, he tried to make himself the victim of being lied to and being teased. This reason enough to break with him. He's a 30-year-old man acting like child when he didn't get what he wanted. He should get dumped for that. Just trust me, get out now. If it's like that this early it's going to get a lot worse. I married that and it is a weapon used against me all the time. These are very red flags. And a glimpse into your future with him. Nothing wrong with asking for sexual things. And nothing wrong with following up if you've been told, later. But he could see you felt awful and didn't have the sense to just stop asking and deal with it himself? And he feels upset that you led him on, even though you told him no right from the start, and only said later when he didn't accept your first no. He doesn't care about your discomfort. He sees you as a fleshlight. Sorry op. Sometimes they wait a while before showing their true colors. That way, you have feelings for them and won't leave. My wife, 35 female, is not the girl I, 35 male, married. When we met and started dating, it seemed like such a smooth connection. Everything about our interests, humor, displays of affection, and outlook on the future seemed to be aligned. We got married, we're doing okay with the start of COVID, found out she's pregnant and eventually became a dad. Honestly though, looking back, there were some red flags I ignored and thought it was part of her awkwardness and anxiety that she had. At some point in the first year of parenthood it felt more tense. Little arguments started over minor things. It felt like a resentful wall was being put up and I convinced her to come to a couples therapist. This completely opened Pandora box. Apparently we don't see eye to eye on almost everything. We don't really share similar interests. She thinks my humor is actually not funny to her and sometimes even thinks it's an emotional attack against her. Even our sexual desires are basically oil and water. So WTF? Apparently when she met me she thought I was really attractive, and during dating she just didn't want to push me away, and continued on as normal, secretly building frustration. Having a therapist to help her open up apparently meant unleashing emotional hell upon me. Every difference we have now is grounds for argument. If I ever try to explain myself it's seen as making excuses. If she explains herself it's getting me to understand her reasons. If I don't accept her reasoning it's because I just want control over her. The constant standoff feeling has also made her extremely defensive towards me. For example, we went shopping and I realized she was quite some distance behind me. I stopped with the cart out of the way and stood looking back. Nothing else. I was actually lost and thought about a big tent I saw. Apparently I had a look, I guess. She walks up and in a snappy, aggressive tone says, "What? Did I do something to you? Am I not fast enough?" And just keeps walking past. In front of our kid we're mostly cordial, just acting like happy mom and dad, but I know they'll grow up and I don't know if we'll be able to act happy enough to hide our real emotions. I don't want to divorce for our kid's sake. I would love to have a happy functioning relationship with a happy family, but man, I'm just getting f-king worn out. You guys aren't compatible. It's that simple. Staying together for the kids is never a good idea either. Kids are sponges, and while you think you act normal in front of your kid, they will pick up on things no matter how well you hide. I think you know what you gotta do. How long were you together before you got married? What kind of social circles do you have? Friends? Family? What do your work lives look like? Division of home labor? What specifically are you disagreeing on? If she doesn't like your humor, what kind of jokes are you making around her? You're saying a lot about her and how your relationship isn't working, but at the same time you were really unspecific. Also, I don't want to divorce because of the kids. Dude, don't force yourself to stay in an unhealthy relationship because of kids. That rarely does them any favors. If your therapist is not holding her accountable for being a dick to you, find a new one. You all should divorce. 2 happy homes is better for children than 1 cold, miserable house. I don't want to divorce for our kids' sake. GTFO with that pathetic BS. Sorry, but that's such a cop-out. I despise that line. Staying in broken, toxic marriages does far more harm to children than divorce does. Is your marriage what you want your children to grow up thinking is normal, and what relationships look like? Do you want your children to end up in a marriage like yours? Because they will if you stay. Your marriage will be their template that they follow. This is not a marriage. Your child deserves to have 2 parents who are concentrating on their happiness and well-being. Instead, your wife is concentrating on everything that she dislikes about you and playing the victim. You should not stay together because it will harm your child if you do. Boyfriend, 28M, is insisting on dry wedding, while I, 29F, want alcohol. Have I wasted my time? My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years and we are planning to get engaged within the next 6 months. We started having conversations about our wedding about a year into our relationship, and as things are getting closer, more discussions are occurring and we have come to a point of contention. So when my boyfriend and I first met, we used to have drinks together, cocktails on dates, wine when relaxing at home, shots when out at a bar, you know, pretty normal stuff for people who drink. About a year into the relationship, my boyfriend decided he didn't really want to drink much anymore, which I respected. He said he was happy for me to continue if I wanted to, but I kinda reduced my drinking because it didn't feel very nice drinking on my own. I would still get a drink every once in a while, but only on occasion. Recently, while having a conversation about our wedding, I brought up the fact that he's reduced his drinking and asked if the wedding day would be an exception, as I had a special bottle of champagne that I have been saving for just us on the day. Initially, he said he would have a glass or 2 with me as we were celebrating, but then later on that evening he changed his mind. He said he doesn't want to drink at all anymore because it doesn't align with his values. Which was new to me. Initially, I was okay with it, but then I started questioning him because this is a value he never mentioned and his actions previously did not align with this. Don't get me wrong. Everyone is entitled to change and develop as a person, so that's not the issue. The real issue is that he is saying that since he now doesn't want to drink, he doesn't want us serving alcohol at the wedding at all. Not only that, he doesn't want alcohol in his household. For me, this is an issue because the way I have been brought up, alcohol is virtually ingrained into celebrations, and I definitely enjoy a good glass of wine to unwind at the weekend. I have a very healthy relationship with alcohol, and so do the people around me. My upbringing also sets standards about how to host and serve my guests, but his upbringing is different. He is saying that this morals, values issue, to not drink alcohol, is based on his upbringing and religion, Christianity, and that he has had this value from day one. I am also Christian but a different denomination as him, although my mom grew up in the same denomination he is. But I don't have this as a value. Of course, the Bible has many passages about drunkenness and overconsumption of alcohol and how it is wrong, but there are also so many about enjoying wine, drinking and being merry, and ultimately, Jesus turned water into wine at a wedding. So I am happy to drink in moderation but try to stay away from being completely intoxicated. Anyway, I asked him if it was an issue where some of his guests have problems with alcohol, and he said that isn't the case. So I tried to discuss a compromise whereby his guests can be served only non-alcoholic beverages, while my guests can choose to have alcoholic beverages if they wish, but he said he isn't willing to compromise, which is quite hurtful, especially because I am being blindsided by this value in the first place, and compromise is important in a marriage. I have gotten to a point where I am questioning our relationship as a whole. There are other things he has blindsided me with that go against the standards that I have for myself and my relationships, but individually each one seemed a bit too small to break up over. I feel like the fact he isn't willing to compromise comes from a place of control, especially because this is the bride's special day. Shouldn't making me happy be important to him? There are other things he's done that make me feel like he has controlling tendencies, but once again, individually each occurrence can be explained away or is too minor to end a relationship over. Also, our upbringings are quite wildly different, so there's likely to be a lot more things that crop up that can cause issues. Like the fact that he can flip-flop on something as fundamental as his values makes me feel like I don't even know him anymore. Especially because at the start of the relationship, I made sure to discuss our value and learn as much as I could about him, so I thought I was making an informed decision to be with him, but I guess it not. And it feels like this is the tip of the iceberg of incompatibility. I don't know, I just need opinions. Edit. Many of you have commented on the fact I said it's the bride's special day. I am new to this, so didn't think about how it would be received. To clarify, I absolutely don't think it's not a special day for him. It definitely is, and I want him to enjoy the day as much as me. I mean that he should be willing to find a resolution so we can both be happy, especially because it's an important day. Forgive me, this is literally my first post. I think this is a lot bigger than the wedding. This is how you're going to live the rest of your life if you marry this man. No more drinking at home for you if you're hosting or you just fancy a glass of wine. Do you love being with him more than getting to decide how to live your life? How can he say that it's been his value since day one but he used to drink with you? And what does he think of you if you are still drinking? His unwillingness to compromise is also a red flag. Marriage is all about compromises, and only the biggest issues should offer zero compromise, like having kids versus not having kids. This is a simple issue that could easily be compromised, but he refuses. What do you find appealing about him that would lead you to marry him? Stop viewing each episode of Control as an isolated incident. Put them all together. Is your fiancé controlling and becoming increasingly so the closer you get to the wedding? Big red flags if so. Make sure you don't get pregnant anytime soon. Watch his behavior. Note the changes and the trends. You know he hasn't held this value since day one. He used to drink. He's told you no one going has an issue with alcohol. So there's really no reason for everyone to have to abide by your fiancé's values. He can still abide by them on his own. So many cases where boyfriend waits until after the wedding to show their true colors. This is ringing all sorts of alarm bells for me. Personally, I would stick your heels in about the alcohol at the wedding. This is not really about the alcohol, but just to push whatever is going on right here into the light before it's too late. You need to know who you're marrying. Use this issue to find out. You've heard of death by 1,000 cuts as an expression. None of the individual cuts bleed fatally, but when you add them together, it's all over for the recipient. I think this is about more than alcohol. It's about him changing his values, however, and whenever he likes, and expecting you to play to his rules. He is disguising control as boundaries and making you feel bad for being uncomfortable with that. It's ultimately about incompatibility. You want someone who respects the choices you make for yourself, and he wants a yay-sayer who is happy to let him decide the most important, if not all, things in your lives. It doesn't sound like this would be a happy marriage. But also it's absolutely great that you learn all of this now and can decide if this is the life you want.